uh, okay, good morning. Good morning. Lighting issues once again. The old days of the lighting issues. Okay, so here we are. Good morning, people. Here we are, Friday, October 11th, 2024. Getting close to halfway through the month already. Good morning, Wada Bevy, hanging on by our fingertips. Be like Wada. Be like Wada, Bevy. All righty. So it's about 6 a.m. here in southwestern Nevada as I'm trying to move my chair into position. And this is Department of Career Services, where our goal is to help our students and other people in their journey through this life in 4 fundamental areas: physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. How do we do that? We do it 3 ways. 1, the worksheet that's down below that has the experts. There's at least 4 hours worth of stuff on it every day. Go through that stuff and it will help you learn what the tools are and how to use the tools to have the most productive life that you can on this journey, the most productive journey through this life, preparing for a destination. Number two, we have this podcast. And the point of the podcast is repetition, building better habits. BBH, building better habits. Come to watch this every day, make it part of your daily routine, and then repetition. And the third way is the sense of community with the other people that are here. It's us. And even if you don't watch it live, which few people do, even if you do not watch it live, or if you watch it live and you don't participate, that's okay. You're still part of the us. And people like us do things like this. Okay, so Wada-Bevy, how is things in Fort Jax? How are things in Fort Jax? Waiting. Sweet. Okay. Do you have more words for that? So I got a gift from a person who shall not be named. And the person said, there's a gift coming for you. There's a piece of mail. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? And finally it came in yesterday. And here's what it is. Let's see if I can zoom in. Yeah, Washington, D.C. Cool. But then I flipped it over. Ba-bang. Yep. Aha. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, something Wada-Bevy doesn't know is that when the aforesaid person was quite young, I said, one day, that's where you're going to be. One day, you're going to be there. And I don't know if I recognized it or if I implanted that thing. And it was like, yeah, cool. I'll just do what I need to do that. I was there. You were. Okay. You must have been like 0. Well, Lucy was NSA. Actually, NSA. But same concept. And I think you'd agree Lucy would be good at the NSA, keeping track of 1 million phone calls. Just don't say the word Blackbriar. Right. Don't use the term Blackbriar. Okay, so here we are halfway in. Our theme of today is summarize. Summarize. Advice from an 80-year-old. Avoid sarcastic remarks. Yes, avoid sarcasm. It is hiding insult behind humor. Avoid it. And especially don't put it in writing because it doesn't work. It doesn't work in writing. Seth Godin, the cheap chocolate system. Well, this is quite long. Can't read it all, but we can start with the beginning. The first step in building a successful strategy is to see the systems that are part of our lives. Right. What are the systems? Okay, what are the things that we have to build our strategy within? October is a fine month to take a moment to closely at one, the systems that bring us cheap chocolate. Like most systems, it's largely invisible. The people in it don't mean to do harm. They're simply making choices that feel like their best option. And most of all, the system works to defend itself, to create culture that defends the status quo. So here we could talk about the criminal justice system in Pahrump. So the people that are in it are just doing their jobs. That's it. They're just doing their jobs. And there's some people who benefit from this system, and they're going to protect the system. Where everyone else is just doing their jobs, they're going to protect the system. The giant chocolate companies want cocoa beans to be a commodity. They don't want to worry about origin or yield. They simply want to buy indistinguishable cheap cacao. In fact, the buyers at these companies feel like they have no choice but to push for mediocre beans at cut-rate prices, regardless of the human cost. As a result, trees are not bred for flavor or resilience, but for yield. Farming methods ignore regeneration and are maximized for short-term output, and most tragically, labor, especially children, is exploited and suffers. The farmer, feeling powerless, feels as though they have no choice but to make what the buyer wants. The cheap beans are made into reliable, cheap chocolate that doesn't melt in the store or in your hands, chocolate that's sweet, not delicious, but cheap. The merchant stocking the shelves feels as though they have little choice. They buy the usual kind, the one that's well promoted and inexpensive. And the convenient, prevalent chocolate becomes the normal kind, the regular kind, the kind kids get on Halloween in bulk. It's easier sometimes to just go with the system. We're not stuck in traffic. We are traffic. If we see a system, we can work to change it. Our strategy can use elements of the system to alter it. The chocolate we buy at the supermarket furthers the goals of the system and directly harms the lives of the impoverished farmers who grow the cacao. Okay, so look at the systems. If you're building a successful, elegant strategy, first see the systems that are part of our lives. And that is a challenge that we face, is the system doesn't want to change. So if you want to change a system, but the system doesn't want to change, what do? Good question. Good question. Okay, what else we got here today? Where's Wadabevi? Where did Wadabevi go? It was Citrus Gardens. LOL. Aha. Okay, cool. Now, I'm here. What do you mean I'm here? What are you doing for work today? I, once again, will be going to Lost Wages. I'd be back for a VA meeting. Had a very interesting class last night, but nobody cares about that. What we care about is how do we move forward in life? So I want to summarize week 1. This is week 1 in our 4-week aha. Let's see, I will say aha. to the coinage part. So I have to create a story about that coin. Right. Okay, so this is a 4-week neuroscience-oriented approach to success. What does that mean, neuroscience-oriented? It means we don't focus just on your thoughts, beliefs, behavior, and the outcome. We focus on what's happening in your brain. Where do these thoughts, feelings, behaviors come from on a most basic level? So, for example, the cells that create the ideas, or the cells the ideas are stored in, how does that work in a real general sense? Where do our feelings come from? Tell us about those neurotransmitters, right? And how does this whole thing click together? That's our reticular activating system. So we focus on those things. How does our brain work? And fundamentally, just really basic, we have a belief. The belief is stored in our neurons. When something triggers us, when there is a trigger, it hits a belief, and the belief will cause the release of neurotransmitters that make us feel a certain way. And our feelings make us behave a certain way, and our behavior leads to the outcome. So you have a stimulus that releases a neurotransmitter, you have behavior, and then there's the consequence. There's the result. And, we might not be able to change the stimulus. According to Immanuel Kant, we can't change the stimulus, but we can change how we respond to it. And so our approach is to understand my feelings are the effect or the result of neurotransmitters being released in my system. It's not an external thing, or it's not a thinking thing. It's a feeling thing. It just doesn't feel right. It's a gut feeling. Well, it's not necessarily a gut feeling, but it is a feeling that is created by the release of neurotransmitters. So certain things, we see it and we laugh. Why? Because we have stored in our neurons in our brain certain things that when we see that, it triggers the release of some neurotransmitter or combination of neurotransmitters, and that makes us laugh. So the idea is, if we understand that's how the system, that's how the system works, we can game the system, improve the system, work with the system, massage the system, whatever you want to say. We can use the system to our advantage. So instead of a stimulus and the releases cortisol, we feel scared, we can train ourselves maybe to feel courage. I'm on an adventure. There's a dragon out there which I must slay, as opposed to it's going to eat me and I'm scared stiffless. No, I'm going to run into the fight, not from the fight. Or I'm going to run from the fight, not into death, type of thing. Or I'm just going to not react. I'm just going to stay calm, wait it out. So that's the approach. And so we start the week with Daniel Amen talking about the brain and how the brain can be damaged, because most of our people have some level of brain damage. So it can be damaged through alcohol, drugs, traumatic brain injury, got knocked out, traumatic brain injury, concussion. It can be damaged by a disease or something growing on the brain. Those are the 5 general areas. There's many more ways, but most of the ways the brain is damaged is those ways. And we see that the brain is the consistency of soft butter, and the skull has a lot of bony ridges in it, so it's not hard to damage. Super, massage it. You can massage the brain. Okay. So that was day 1. The brain can be damaged easily, but it can be repaired to an extent through a Brain Smart program. Day 2, we learn about IQ, the importance of IQ. What is it? What are the different types of IQ? Meaning crystallized and fluid. How do they work together? Sugar. How do they work together? And why it's important, and that every job has an IQ range, and you want to be around 70%, 75%, because the job is not too easy, it's not too hard, it's challenging, you stand out. Whereas if your IQ is barely able to do the job, you're going to be viewed as that guy who's probably going to screw it up. You're going to go home, you're going to plant these beliefs in your brain that you suck or the job sucks, and you're going to end up quitting. Lion's mane and mindfulness helps restructure neurons. Restructure neurons? Probably. I don't know about lion's mane. What do you have to do? Catch a lion and pull out its mane? Good morning, director. Good morning, Diana. Good morning. So that's day 2, is the importance of knowing what your IQ is and what IQ is. All jobs have an IQ range. Next, day 3, addiction. Everything we think they know about addiction is wrong. And what is it about addiction? What a bevy. What's the opposite of addiction? It's not sobriety. It's connection. Connection. Right. Convection. Convection is the opposite. Yes, we'll have heat. Okay, so, and then we learn the power of telling stories, that man controls the planet, humans control the planet, because we are able to tell stories that we believe. And if we believe the story, we'll get massive, large numbers of people cooperating flexibly. That happens on a micro level too, on a yourself level. If you tell a compelling story, you want people to do what your story tells them to do. Like when you go to get a job interview, the story is about what? Why they should hire you rather than someone else. And if you have a compelling story, guess what's going to happen? Good things. You might not always get the job, but you'll learn and you'll have another shot. Next, day 5, Viktor Frankl. Huge, huge. It's huge. It's a huge thing. Day 5, Viktor Frankl. Don't really have time to go into it. But once again, this is, we can't control the stimulus, but we can control how we react to it. And he did it on a psychiatric, psychological level. We look at it on a neuroscience level, what's actually happening in your brain when these things are happening. The idea being, if we understand what's happening, we can be in control rather than be controlled. Okay, so we're going to call it a day. Hope all is well. What's the weather like in Florida, in Fort Jacks? What, my baby? What's the weather like? Hurry, what's the weather like? Sunny. Okay, so the hurricane is gone. Are you working? A little cool this morning. And what about in Portland? Is that where you are, Diana? Are you in Portland? Working till 3:30. Okay, cool, good, cool. All right. All righty then, people. So we're going to call it a day. Tomorrow is G School. G School. So with that, we'll say Shivas and Shalom. Oops. Shalom.